In most corners of the globe, faith is the inescapable, full-volume background music to our daily existence. It's playing at family dinners, community board meetings, and practically every social gathering in between. Because religion is so thoroughly woven into the fabric of daily life, quietly admitting that you are an atheist carries the exact same social energy as walking into the office completely naked. Everybody looks at you like you've lost your mind. Music stops, and suddenly you're surrounded by people who are deeply confused about what on earth you actually believe or don't believe. When you casually drop into conversation that you aren't religious, the general public's reaction is almost never, "Oh, neat, tell me more about your rational worldview." Instead, folks immediately activate their favorite internal stereotypes. They assume you must be harboring a dark, boiling rage against the universe, or that you're trapped in an extended adolescent rebellion phase, or that you simply took a wrong turn at the last spiritual junction and need a polite nudge back into the flock. So, let's be clear about this and clear the air once and for all. This isn't an aggressive crusade to trash anybody's cherished traditions or ruin your grandmother's favorite prayers. It is just a lighthearted, slightly sarcastic look at 10 common myths that people insist on believing about secular living. Whether you are deeply devout or just here for the social commentary, let's step past the tropes. Being non-religious doesn't mean that you've traded your humanity for a calculator. It means that you are navigating the family dinner table with a slightly different set of assumptions. This quote's always stuck with me. It's by the late Christopher Hitchens. It says, "Never be a spectator of unfairness or stupidity. Seek out argument and disputation for their own sake. The grave will supply plenty of time for silence." And that is my message or plea to you, is to stand up against unjust imposition. Right, myth number 1. I call this one the community myth, that you need faith to belong. Many human cultures place a massive emphasis on shared humanity, collective responsibility, and showing up for one another. This is a lovely concept until the collective decides that showing up requires everyone to recite the exact same liturgy in perfect unison. The moment you stop nodding along during the communal prayer, the group dynamic shifts slightly, and suddenly you are treated like a Trojan horse inside your own neighborhood. There is this bizarre, persistent assumption that you have to be a real, authentic member of your community. You must hold a membership card for a local house of worship. But forcing everybody into the exact same metaphysical box isn't community. It's just hostage-taking with better catering. Shared human values ought to be about how we actually treat the living people standing right in front of us, rather than agreeing on what happens to our ethereal consciousness after we kick the bucket. You can be completely 100% invested in your people, your culture, and your neighborhood without subscribing to a specific cosmic creed. A healthy society is surely big enough to accommodate the folks who prefer to spend their Sunday mornings sleeping in or reading science journals without revoking their community privileges. This is a very common one. Number 2, atheism is not Satanism. Seriously. The classic fallback. If you tell someone you don't believe in God, there is a surprisingly high chance that they'll squint at you and suspect you spend your weekends muttering incantations in a candle-lit basement. It is an incredible leap of logic. Oh, You don't believe in the benevolent cosmic ruler, then you must obviously be worshipping his sworn red-skinned enemy. Let's break down the arithmetic here, because it seems to trip a lot of people up. If an atheist doesn't believe in supernatural deities, they definitely don't believe in horned subterranean lords, mischievous forest spirits, or dark magic rituals. Choosing atheism isn't joining the dark side or switching team jerseys. It's walking out of the game altogether, driving home and turning the TV off. If you don't believe the game even exists, you can't exactly be drafted as the star player for the opposing team. So no, nobody is sacrificing goats in the backyard. We are mostly just trying to figure out where we put our car keys. And the irony of this is that the people who actually believe in the devil are the believers, not the atheists. This is a very common one in South Africa. So number 3, skepticism isn't a foreign import. It is a wildly popular talking point among traditionalists that skepticism, rationalism, or secular thought is some kind of toxic foreign infection imported from elsewhere to ruin local traditions. The moment you express doubt, you are accused of adopting a fancy, high-minded trend that does not belong to your ancestral heritage. This is completely ignoring the entire obvious fact that human beings across every continent have been staring up at the stars and asking, wait, really? Since the dawn of time, skepticism isn't that import tax on culture. It is standard human equipment. In fact, if we are going to talk about the history, imported ideologies, a massive chunk of the rigid, dogmatic religious rules enforcing compliance today were literally brought over by conquerors and colonizers a few centuries back. Questioning authority, demanding evidence, and being skeptical of invisible forces is as universally human as it gets. Pretending that curiosity belongs only to one specific geographic, it's demonstrably historically illiterate and deeply unfair to inquisitive minds everywhere. Number 4, you can still respect heritage and ancestry. There is a heavy guilt trip often laid on secular folks. The idea that if you don't believe in the supernatural, you are actively disrespecting your elders, your heritage, and your family tree. Apparently, if you don't believe your ancestors are floating in the ether judging your life choices, you must hate them. In reality, you can love, honor, and profoundly respect the memory of your late relatives without convincing yourselves that their ghosts are actively watching you eat dinner or judging your love life. Respecting your roots is about preserving your family's history, passing down their best stories, keeping their recipes alive, and honoring the sacrifices that they made so you can exist. You don't need a superstitious framework to feel a deep emotional connection to the people who came before you. Memory, love, and historical gratitude work perfectly fine all on their own without any magic required. Number 5, we are making good progress on this. There's quite a few here. We should just get this going. It's not just a phase or an emotional reaction. Very few things are quite as delightfully condescending as delivering a thoughtful explanation of your secular worldview, only to have a well-meaning relative pat you on the head and say, "Don't worry, you're just mad at God. You're just going through a rebellious phase." Ah, yes, because clearly decades of philosophical reflection are just the equivalent of a teenager slamming the bedroom door. Most people don't arrive at atheism because they have a bad day at church or they got upset that their prayers didn't land them a promotion. They arrive there after sitting down, examining the empirical evidence and looking at the claims and realizing the mathematical equations simply do not balance out. It is a conclusion reached through logic, reading, and observation. Calling someone's intellectual conclusion a tantrum is just a lazy way to avoid engaging with their arguments. Let's treat a reasoned stance like an adult with intellectual discussion rather than assuming everybody who disagrees with you is just having a temporary emotional wobble. This is a big one. The no blessings financial myth. You know, we've all encountered the bizarre prosperity theology logic. If somebody is flying on a private jet, they are blessed. But if somebody is broke and struggling to pay rent, it's clearly because they didn't pray hard enough on Tuesday. It's a remarkably convenient worldview for the rich and a delightfully cruel one for everybody else. Newsflash, your bank account balance is a direct reflection of interest rates, job markets, systemic socio-economic factors, education, and a massive dose of random luck, not a cosmic scorecard tracking your spiritual piety. Wealth scoundrels exist in abundance, as do deeply devout people living in poverty. Relying on practical financial planning, hard work, and structural economic reforms yield vastly better real-world results than sitting back and waiting for a financial miracle to drop through the ceiling. Real-world problems require real-world solution, not metaphysical wishful thinking. Number 7, yes, secular people enjoy public holidays also. Every year around December, late spring, some comedic genius turns to the atheist in the office and smugly asks, if you don't believe in religion, why are you taking the day off for this holiday or that holiday? Wow. Absolute checkmate. Back it up, guys. The entire secular philosophy just collapsed because someone wanted a day off work. Here is a wild secret. Statutory public holidays are civil benefits granted to entire workforce so that human beings don't burn out completely. We all pay taxes, we all grind through the work week, and we all contribute to keeping society running. Therefore, we all get to enjoy the mandated pause in economic productivity. You don't need to believe in the theological backstory of a winter festival to enjoy eating too much food, giving gifts, and sleeping in until noon. Rest is a basic human necessity, not a reward scheme reserved exclusively for churchgoers. Why do atheists celebrate Christmas? This is so annoying. My favorite one, number 8. It takes more faith to be an atheist. Wait, what? This one easily is one of the most popular linguistic gymnastic tricks in the apologetics playbook. Believers love to spin around and declare atheism is actually just another religion. It takes way more faith to believe that nothing created the universe out of nowhere. It's an impressive bit of word magic, but it completely misses the point. Atheism isn't a belief system, a holy book, or a dogma. It's literally just the absence of a specific belief. It is the simple act of looking at an extraordinary claim, raising an eyebrow, and saying, Interesting claim. It would be a pity if anybody asked you for some evidence for that to back that up. Admitting I don't know how the universe started, so let's keep studying the evidence, isn't a leap of faith. It's called basic honesty. Expecting proof before accepting claims as absolute truths is literally the exact opposite of blind faith. And the ultimate irony when this statement, it takes more faith to be an atheist, is the level that it is actually such a remarkable self-own, because saying that just indicates the security with which they regard faith, which is supposed to be one of the cornerstones of the religion, believing without evidence or reason. Number 9, secularism is not about suppressing faith. We're not trying to destroy your religion. There's a constant dramatic narrative that's pushed by some groups that secular people are actively plotting behind closed doors, and we trying to close down churches and ban prayer and criminalize religious holidays. It makes for great sensational headline material, but it is pure fiction, fantasy. The vast majority of atheists could care less what you do in your place of worship on the weekend. What we actually want is a neutral, secular government where national laws, public school curricula, and human rights policies are based on universal reason and empirical evidence, not on your specific denomination's holy book. Secularism doesn't mean anti-religion. It means keeping the playing field level. It ensures that the state does not favor your religion over anybody else's, or force anyone to live under somebody else's ancient dogma. It keeps faith a private choice, which actually protects religious freedom for everyone else, including those of that faith. And this is the big one. Life remains deeply meaningful without an afterlife. Finally, here is the dramatic, melancholic myth that without the promise of an eternal paradise in the clouds, an atheist's life must be bleak, depressing, a slog through of pointless void. If there's no heaven, they ask, what is the point of even getting out of bed? If anything, the exact opposite is true. If you believe this life is just an awkward waiting room for a grand, endless post-life VIP party, it's easy to trivialize the present world. But if you recognize that this single fragile stretch of years is the only shot at existence that you will ever get, every single second suddenly becomes infinitely precious. Knowing there's no cosmic reset button pushes you to love harder, be kinder, savor good food, fight for justice, and leave the planet a little better than you found it right now. You don't need a post-credits scene to enjoy the movie. The main event is happening right here, right now, and it is plenty spectacular, all on its own. So yes, there we have it, guys. Take care until next week. Look after yourself, take care of your loved ones, and we will see you on the flip side.